Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. We were just complimenting each other on our color palette. How are you today? You're back at the spot, the best place on the planet, where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, the responses are never dull. And we are in the land down under with Deidre Schill. Brains, we're going to have a talk about the talk that we have with ourselves. How do you feel about yourself? When is the last time you just sat in the mirror, 15 minutes, and did a deep dive, looked into your own eyes, talked to your own self, felt the beating of your own heart, thought about the words that come out of your mouth, and how that impacts you as well as others? It's a relationship that we have with ourselves, whether you believe it or not. Is it addictive? Is it controlling? Is it manipulative? Is it angry? Or is it loving, soft, kind, giving? We're going to talk to Deidre about that and just how to change that vernacular and enhance the relationship that we have with ourselves. Then we're going to catapult to the relationships that we have with other people, because they are definitely impactful and insightful. So let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Deidre?
I am fantastic. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I can't complain about nothing. And that $1 million smile makes me happy.
Thank you.
You should have a toothpaste commercial. Beautiful teeth, beautiful smile. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell my brains, our sweet, loving cult following, how you show up in the world.
So I continuously challenge my narrative in my head. I absolutely loved your introduction. That was so great, so thought-provoking too. Even listening to you introduce me in that way and where I hang out and work makes me even go, do I hang out with myself? How often do I hang out for 15 minutes in the mirror? I'm going to tell you right now that the first time I was challenged to look at myself in the mirror, look into my own eyes, I couldn't do it. So, and a lot of the women who I hang out with, when they first start working with me, they're not able to do it at all. But I'm really excited to say I can hang out with myself all day, every day. I don't have any problems looking at myself in the mirror. And it's been a journey to unravel all of those beliefs and stories and programs that get downloaded upon us after we're born. And sometimes for some people, even before they're born, believe it or not. Yeah, that say you're not allowed to love yourself, you're not worthy enough, you're not good enough, you're not important enough, you're not any of these enough things. And to conquer those lies, I call them the truth presenting them, lies presenting themselves as our truth, because we kind of think that they're our truth, but they're not. And so it's my passion. It's what I was born to do. I truly believe I've been on the journey that I've had to experience so that I can be right where I am right now and really meet people in that pain, suffering. A word that's used a lot in the space I hang out in with women when they first start meeting me is feeling broken. So
let's take a look at that. Okay, so again, we talk about all the time epigenetics. I'm teaching myself nutrition and I'm loving it. First thing I thought was diet. It's not. It's about the molecules, it's about the genomics, it's about the DNA, it's about who we are innately. And that is generational. 2 generations back, my grandparents were slaves. I take on the DNA of the things that they ate, the mindset, uh, not the oppression, because I broke that chain, but those things that have been embedded in us from our parents. All right, so you fast forward, you get to this world, and you say, is this really who I am? Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Then you have kids. Then you start pouring that same garbage into them. You know, when does it stop? So you work with these women that have come to a realization that this is not who I choose. Did you hear that big $25 word, Brains? Who I choose to be, because it is a choice. It's a hard choice. It's a hard choice. And you got to do the work. Right, Deidre?
Exactly right. And, like I totally get that word choice. I've got one client that I've been working with for a little while, and we're really digging deep into that choice, because she has some, and she's not the only one, don't get me wrong, but because I've done it myself, and I'm sure you've done it, where we find ourselves spiraling into that old pattern, feeling like as though we don't have a choice, because it's the automatic response. And until you can kind of get down to that root cause of, why do I have that automatic response? Why do I start yelling and screaming? Why do I run away and hide? Why do I shut down? Why do I do whatever it is that I know that I do, even though I do not like doing it? So sometimes in those, you're standing in that moment and you're on the precipice. Am I going to go left, which is the new way, or I'm going to go right, which is the old familiar way? And it kind of overtakes you and you go down that same path. However, the more you uncover and realize that all started when you were a young child for whatever reason, and it was there to keep you safe and to protect you, it got your needs met. And then you can start having those conversations, like with yourself in the mirror.
Or I have to stop right there, or keep you in line, in control, or in fear.
Yeah.
You look at people sometimes with religious doctrines. I love the Lord. I'm not going to lie. Okay. I worship every day, 3-4 times a day. However, when it comes to the interpretation of what my religious doctrine is and influenced by others, it's manipulated. Same thing with your parents. When they tell you, oh, Deidre, this line of work, honey, marry up. You should marry a brain surgeon, or you should marry a corporate executive. Don't go to, what is this garbage that you're talking about, helping people with mindset? That's not going to help anybody. Again, this is what they were taught. So people try to keep you in line with that. You know what my guest gave me yesterday? That was just the greatest gift. She said, when these old patterns and questions and hurt and pain show up, this is what she does to herself. And she says, here it is again. She places her hand on her face. And when I did that, I realized that it was a gentle reminder. Yes, it was a gentle reminder of something that is annoying or something that worries me, but I'm going to comfort myself. I'm going to love my way through it, and I'm going to acknowledge it. And it was the sweetest thing. And, I'm going to use that a whole lot. What techniques do you use with your clients when they are in a quandary, when they're in a bad space, to say, you know what, pump your brakes. This is where we stop. This is where we use our tools. This is where we change our mindset.
Yeah, it definitely, because I work with my clients and it's all very, very tailored to what suits them. We do self-hugging, like where you just exactly like you're doing with your hand on your face. But, sometimes there a lot of women, we can be in a crowded room, we can be in bed with our husbands or partners or whatever, and you're still feeling really, really lonely, and you're having that disconnect. And the disconnect.
I'm sorry. I take full advantage of all that snuggling, but no, I'm
yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I know, but we've been taught, or we've learned, or we've come up with the idea that, And what happens is it's easier to reject someone else. So we push people away so that we do, because then we're in control, so that we're not feeling the rejection from them. So it's easier to hold ourselves back. So you've got to reconnect with yourself. So yeah, we do. I get them to stroke their own face and rub their own and lie in bed and, you know, at nighttime and remind themselves that they're worthy, they're loved. We do tapping, we do hypnotherapy, we do lots of different things. But the first thing I ever do when I'm working with my clients is basically a 30-day process that's and the first 7 days is just listen to the narrative that you're saying to yourself. What is the conversation in your head? And it's just about learning to listen to who you are, how you act, how you respond, how you behave. And because if you are not aware of your part, they're coming to work with me because their relationship is in troubled times. And what we tend to do is we blame the person that we're in the relationship with, whether it's a working relationship, their children, their lover. And it's like, well, how about you start listening? So the first thing is, what is it that you're saying? So what are you saying? How are you acting? How are you responding? Without judgment, without blame, but just with curiosity. So you're being curious. How am I turning up in this relationship? External, so you can start listening to how that conversation is within. Because if you're not aware of those little throwaway comments, those little things that you're saying to yourself, that becomes a looping thought, which creates a looping pattern that then becomes your behavior. Then where do you start? So I start right back at just be curious of how you're turning up each day. What are the first words you're saying to yourself? What is the first things that you're doing that happen before you even start your day?
Right. I start the night before. When I say my prayers, I do a little NLP. I do a little neuro-linguistic programming. I stop and say, okay, how do I want tomorrow to be? Because yesterday is gone. I laughed. You're in Australia. I'm in the United States. And when we got on, I said, you are my tomorrow and I am your yesterday. And so we have an opportunity to reflect on what has happened, but also prepare for what is upcoming. The most important thing is that you live in the present. So many people are just not conscious. They want to, dictate what is going to happen instead of just riding the wave of where they are. You had a challenge with a brother that had some anger issues. And I had a brother that had some anger. And girl, he was out of control. And I'm honest with people to this day. I still, he's been deceased now 4 years. And sometimes I still can't shake his ugliness. Tell me a little bit about your experience and how you coped with that.
Yeah, so my brother passed away in 2017, and he hadn't actually, prior to being diagnosed with terminal lung cancer, we hadn't had a very close relationship at all. He had decided that we weren't going to be friends anymore. Upon his diagnosis of cancer, he rang me, and anyway, we reunited. We came back together, and I became his live-in. I cared for him. I looked after him on the last 18 months of his journey here on earth. And yeah, he had so much anger. He carried so much anger every single day. And it was because of him being on that journey with my brother that I am actually doing the work that I'm doing today, because I had already been on my own healing journey, healing the wounds of the past, healing the like we've all got generational pain, exactly what you were saying. And I was very blessed that I was already on this healing journey with God and with myself. And, I'm like yourself, I pray a lot. And I had already been on this, my own inner healing. And then I was pregnant and having a baby, and, I was 43 years old, and, it had been aligned that here I was available to go and look after my brother during the most challenging time of his life and our family's life. And everything had, imploded in the family. There was, Stephen had been very, very angry with mum and dad, and it was like people were needing to choose sides, and it was terrible. So much anger. And I could really was in that space with him, and I was like, you are literally eating yourself up with all this, being so consumed with this anger. And we got to have lots of really great conversations, and I was doing a lot of tapping and working with my own coach. I had someone who was there for me, like she was on call. I caught up with her all the time to support me while I was supporting my brother on his big journey.
Mm-hmm.
And
and it's so trying how. Well, let me ask this question: was he also self-medicating?
Up until he was drinking alcohol, yes.
My mother used to say, why doesn't that alcohol make you happy and make you laugh? Why does it turn on that ugly switch in your brain? And I said, Mama, I don't know. But it's a comfort and a coping mechanism. But people are like reservoirs, they pour into you. And you have to be careful on how you channel that energy. You have to understand that that is not you. And I resisted my brother because he was a narcissist. He was arrogant. He was a huge success in the entertainment industry. And if you've been following the media here, you see that our entertainment industry is hell in a handbasket. And this self-righteousness that he had. And I don't know where he got that from, because I wasn't raised that way, and I was raised by the same mother. But people have different experiences. And so you have to understand it. What if you're empathic? It's really doubly hard, because you're sucking all this stuff in like a sponge. You have to really kind of, again, sit somewhere, pen, paper, in the park, in front of the mirror, but by yourself, and have a conversation with yourself about, is this really my stuff? Or is this somebody else's stuff that they want me to hold? That's a part of doing the deep dive. Then when you realize, okay, I can separate fact from fiction, that this is not mine, that this is somebody else's, then you work with a great person like Deidre that is going to say, okay, now let's open this container, decompartmentalize, and shift. Really, what are your issues? Because we all have issues, brains. Don't sit up here and think that just because your brother or my brother was not the most pleasant person, that we don't have ticks ourselves. There's some things that we do to other people and that we do to ourselves. That self-realization comes a time, Deidre, when you have to recognize who you are and what you do. Then you have to face that person. That's some tough work too, because what is my stuff? I'm not the victim anymore. I'm taking responsibility. I'm accountable. Those tears start to flow. That pain starts to well up. What do you do with that?
I remember when I was sitting in that space, that first awareness of, I'm exactly where I am because of the choices that I've made and what I've allowed into my life. And it was really hard. I really do understand why. I really understand why a lot of people are scared to open that door, because we've been raised in a society, and all you have to do is turn on the television to see that it's very strongly endorsed, perpetrated, whatever word you want to use, to give you permission to live in a victim status, victim mindset, that it's not your fault and it's all their fault. I get it, because I remember sitting there very, very poignantly. How do you say that word? Is that correct? Poignantly. Right. It was so intense, going, oh my gosh, I am exactly where I am, and it's all my fault. I didn't want to own it. I wanted to reject that, but I knew that if I didn't own it, then I couldn't change it. So I was flip-flopping between, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this to myself, and crying, hardcore crying, to massive excitement, because that if I created it, that meant I could leave it, I could change it, I had the power, that I wasn't a victim to what someone else told me I had to tolerate or do or whatever. So it's kind of like that initial, the one of a better word, but that initial opening up your eyes and seeing a bigger picture, seeing reality through a different lens, was challenging. And I'm not even going to pretend that it's not, because from my experience, it was extremely intense and it was very, very hard. But at the same time, on that same coin, but on the other side of it, was so exciting that I now got to, steer my own life, and I wasn't a victim to what anyone else told me. I could choose, I could make my own decisions, and I could be, powerful in my own self. And so that was also extremely exciting. And that's the part of this whole space in which you work, in which I work, that gets you out of bed in the morning, just to help, grab someone's hand and go, I've got you. I've got you. Right. You don't have to do this by yourself.
Right.
I've got you.
Absolutely. You are the director of your own movie, Brains. And you know what else? You can rewrite the script.
Yeah.
You can cut out certain character actors. You can be the star. You can create your own props, your own setting. Just put yourself in with a director's hat. Get yourself a nice chair, a little slate, and decide what you want to do. Well, we
and the
want to
great
talk
thing
about.
Is,
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, the great thing is as you clear stuff in your life, as you step up in your own belief system in yourself, then people who aren't ready to step up with you, they just drop away. It doesn't have to be terrible. They just drop away. You're no longer fighting.
Or the best part is that you are a magnet. You draw wonderful people to you, because now people see your aura. They see your energy. They want to be around you. They're going, wow, look at April. She's lost 40 pounds. How did she do that? She looks great. Or look at that smile of Deidre. Oh my God, it's electric. I want to be around her. I want to get to know her. I've had people tell me that, and I was just enamored. They say, you know what? I just love being around you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got a secret crush? What's going on, girl? No, but they say, I like your energy. I like your positivity. I like how you're able to be a truth teller, and you do that. My beautiful self, the truth, faith, and purpose. You got to understand what your truth is, what your faith is, because we walk by faith and not by sight. And then when we have those two part to the equation, what is your purpose? What are you here for? Sit up here and look like lunch meat? I don't think so. Everybody has a purpose. If you look down to the plankton at the bottom of the ocean, it has a purpose. An ant has a purpose, but also a lion, an eagle. We all have a purpose. And that's hard for people to define. What is your purpose? Ask yourself that, Brains. That's a big question. What am I here for? Who am I here to serve? Am I here to be a participant? Am I here to be a leader? Am I here to be a follower? Followers are great too. Don't think just that you always have to be at the top of the food chain.
Fine.
Am I here to create? Am I here to educate? Am I here to procreate? Am I here just, to listen? What is your purpose? And it doesn't have to be big and grandiose, I'm not here to take over the world. Just what is your independent contribution? Tell us a little bit about My Beautiful Self.
So My Beautiful Self came up with, like I knew when I was working with Stephen or living with Stephen, and we were living and working together, we were doing a lot of work, a lot of emotional untangling a lot of the stories Stephen had, so that by the time he was finishing his journey here on earth, he had found peace. and he had forgiveness. Two of the biggest things, forgiveness and peace, that you want, to achieve, because when you can't forgive yourself, then you're living in, things are challenging. You've got that friction and stuff like that. So he had found a lot of forgiveness in his life, and therefore peace. And I knew at that moment, it was like this moment upon his passing and the weeks, but this unraveling that came through to me, that I could never go back to the corporate world. I was in the corporate HR, human resource, operations manager, stuff like that, working up to 60 hours a week. I loved, very passionate about what I did in that space, but always wanting more because I didn't feel I was connecting in a way that served me. And this, seeing what the journey I'd been on with Stephen, and just knowing in my soul that Stephen and I must have had a contract, I couldn't have been, the stars couldn't have aligned so perfectly for this to all unravel in my life and Stephen's life. I can feel the emotion come through. So if I cry, just forgive me.
Stay in the moment, because that's the purpose. That's the channeling of the energy. That is even saying that I am in agreement with you. I'm in alignment with you. So feel your feelings. That's another thing, brains. Allow yourself space to feel the feels.
Yeah. And we shut them down because they can be uncomfortable and scary. And, I just had this knowing that I couldn't have been on this journey with Stephen. It was hard. I am not even going to pretend to say it was all sweet sailing. It wasn't. It was the hardest time of my life. I had a newborn baby. I gave birth to a baby 20 years after my previous child. My relationship was going through my relationship with her dad, my daughter's dad, was strained. We were living with my brother. He was dying. We were selling a business. It was just massive. And I knew that it had to all have a purpose that was greater than me. Mm-hmm. And after Stephen passed, and I was sitting in the just sitting in the quiet of everything that had come, because when you're living with someone and then they pass, it goes from being extremely busy, so much going on. There's nurses, there's people in and out, there's hundreds of flowers, there's just so much, and then there's nothing.
Deafening silence.
Yeah. Silence. And you're just left there, and it's like I felt lost, and I knew I could never go back to what I was, but I didn't know where I was going to go to next. And I just was out of sorts, and it was like this thing, it was like this, my beautiful self, I have to look after my beautiful self. And we are our beautiful selves.
We
are the most important. We are the most important person we have to look after, because if we don't look after our beautiful self, now beautiful not being pretty, beautiful as in the depth of you, if we're not looking after our beautiful souls, our beautiful inner selves, that truth, that real truth of who you are, and reconnecting with that, then we have missed the point. We've missed it. Exactly. And
you've missed your purpose.
Yeah.
You've missed your purpose. And that's not to say that you have to live 60 years to figure out what your purpose is.
But look at Stephen, who's to say his purpose wasn't to help me get to where I needed to be to Absolutely. Do what I need to do.
Your purpose could be a facilitator.
Yeah.
I call people, you could be my life Uber driver. The person just in the front seat, just drive me where I need to go.
Yeah.
But even though someone's driving you where you need to go, ultimately it is your destination where you need to be. So you got all this wisdom, all this emotion, had a baby 20 years, and what was you doing 20 years? You're like, wow, look at what I can still do. Bravo. That takes courage too. I've got a girlfriend that's 52 and she's pregnant right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it
she
wasn't
says,
an
this is my,
easy.
she says, this is my miracle baby. She said, but I tell you, I don't know how I'm going to handle it. And again, it's a gift. You know, at 52, you figure, oh no, this is way past my childbearing years. But she's going to be sweeter, gentler, and kinder. She's going to homeschool. She's going to have the patience that she had. She's going to have different disciplines, different expectations. It's going to be a whole different, a whole
Yeah,
different set of circumstances than it was with her other children. You're a part of an
100%.
anthology. You said, I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to put it inside of a book. Do you have the book there with you?
Oh, no, I don't actually, because I was going to be catching up with you in my home office, but due to a very noisy environment, I've jumped in the car and I've left it at home.
Oh, okay. Well, don't worry about it. What we'll do is we will insert it. We'll put a picture because I want
Mm.
people to understand the process. Writing that, I'm sure, was very cathartic for you as well, too. And,
Yes, it was.
emotionally tethering.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that experience from writing it down?
Do you know what some of the stuff that was really interesting with me writing down my stuff? What came up the most for me, writing down, writing my chapter was so healing because I got to have my voice. Because as soon as I wrote it down, I sent it through to my mum and to my mum and to because I have written about my journey with Stephen, and I also wrote around having a baby when I was older, and also the relationship I had with my son's dad, and then the relationship I have with Carly's dad, and he didn't want the baby. And I had all this pushback from people who didn't even really know me, saying, calling me and saying, you shouldn't have written that. You shouldn't have written that and published that because that's not respectful. And I'm like, hang on a minute, that's my story.
That's your story.
That's my story.
That's your
And
truth. People. It's
yeah.
like when you tell me something, now you've incorporated in it. You've involved me. It's my story. Bravo.
Mm,
Bravo.
yeah. So that was probably, I found that because when I had people ringing me, it brought up all this fear. Oh, have I crossed the line? Have I said something I shouldn't have said? And the thing that was the most triggering for people was when I was talking about because having Carly when I was 43 years old, I was 44 when she was born. Uh, at that time, her father was full of fear and he didn't think that he was going to be able to manage. So his way of dealing with it was just go and have an abortion. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. That's not an option for me. So I've written around, that interaction we had. And that has that did cause a lot of triggers. Whereas Peter, he's part of the story and he was fine with me writing it because we healed through it. It was a growth opportunity in our relationship. But
And
yeah,
it's reality. It
yeah,
is
it is.
reality. Is this going to strain our relationship? What is this going to do at 43 years old? My physical health, my mental health.
Mm,
Am I going to be a good parent? Is this
mm,
something that I want? Now, Brains, look, I am pro choice. I have that tattooed on my heart. I'm not saying that everybody has to pick that option, but they had an adult conversation and she was brave enough to those folks that rang you. She was brave enough and had the courage to put this front and center instead of being shamed by how she really felt. Those feelings had been suppressed, manipulated, and controlled by another for so long that she said, no more. Do you know how many women are grappling with that same choice right now? That are dealing with a person in a relationship that is saying, you know what, baby, it was fun when we was beating it down, but now I don't want no kids. I don't want this, that, and the other. And working through that. Do you understand what Peter had to think about? Yes, he planted the seed, but ultimately he is not in control. It's up to Deidre what she wanted to do, how she was going to carry forth. And then when the baby is born, how are we going to nurture and love this person And they're going to eventually know that, you know what, this was an option, but this was a choice. This is reality, brains. This is what we call truth. And if you can't live with the truth, you got a whole lot more to worry about than what's inside the pages of the book of somebody else's truth. I'm sorry, I just had to tell y'all.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Thank you. And, like what the choices I make in my life are the choices I make in my life. I agree
That's
with
right.
you 100%. I have no judgment on what anyone else chooses to do. And everyone makes the decisions based on the circumstances that they are in at that time. We make the best decision we can at the time we're making that decision. And there's no point going back and saying what I should have, could have. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. And every time we come to a brick wall, like when we hit those brick walls in life, it's an opportunity to reevaluate why we choose to do what we do. And are we choosing to do what we do because it's our belief we're choosing to do it, or are we choosing to do something because someone else is putting their belief upon us, or it was already within us from when we were young and we feel we have no choice? And like once upon a time I used to hit brick walls and feel like it's not fair. Why does this always happen to me? Life's hard, it sucks. And now I hit brick walls and go, okay, what is it that I need to go within and have a look at within my own self? What's coming up for me that this brick wall has given me an opportunity to reevaluate?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have a right to change your mind.
Mm.
That's
yeah.
That's what cracks me up. People will say, "Oh, and their position was this, that, and the other," and then all of a sudden, well, I had an epiphany. Something happened. Me, I don't like okra. I don't like the taste of it. I didn't until somebody prepared it a different kind of way, and then my opinion and my palate changed. That is what evolution is. That is what life is about. It's about growing and changing and experiencing. Yes, you're going to run into a brick wall and it's going to hurt. But then you get up, dust yourself off, lick your wounds, put some ointment on it. The scars will heal. It will. And those are a testament to who you are. If you go through this life without battle scars, baby, you have not lived. Okay? I'm just telling you. So let's ask you some fun questions because I got the goose pimples and all this kind of stuff. We bring it up, all kinds of stuff. If you were a flower, what flower would you be and why?
An orchid.
Ooh.
Because they're just so beautiful. They're so beautiful, and I love beautiful, obviously. Right. And don't they just stay flowering for the longest time?
They do.
And they hold their vibrancy and their color, and there's no other reason than that. It's just, when I did get married, I had orchids as my in my bouquet. Oh, wow. I just think that they're stunning.
Well, you paid a pretty penny because orchids are expensive and they're exotic and they're wonderful. It's hard for me to grow. And I guess I'm not patient. You need to be patient with an orchid too, because once all the petals fall off, again, like life, once your petals fall off, baby, you're not dead. People still need to hold that space for you, water you, love you, feed you. You will bloom again. If you were a appliance in the kitchen of all places, what appliance would you be?
Oh, gee, that's a good question. Let me think about that. So does it have to be an electrical appliance, or can it just be any tool in the kitchen? I'd be the knife.
The knife, okay. And why would you be the knife?
Because you just it's just so versatile. You can cut things away that you don't need. You can prepare meals. You can just do so much with the knife. Way more, even if you don't have a fork or something to stir with, you can still stir it with the knife. The knife is, well, you can cook with, you can still achieve a meal with a knife, but if you don't have a knife and you need to prepare a meal, then it's a bit challenging.
That's right. I want to be the KitchenAid. I want to mix it up. I want to be like dough. I want to put it together. I want to be like the pasta maker. You know, I want to do a lot of things. So I think I want to be the KitchenAid. I like that thing.
I like the precision of the knife too, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, it cuts right to it. You know, get right to the point.
No mucking around.
No mucking around. If you were a car, what kind of car would you be?
Oh goodness. I really like the all-wheel drive Mercedes Benz if I had a choice.
All right. Well, good. I like that. That's very classy. That's a representation of who you are. If you had an opportunity to have a conversation with a 25-year-old Deidre, what would you say to her?
Do you know what I would say to her? No, I'd just tell her that everything's going to be all right, but I'd hug her more than anything.
Mm,
I'd just hold her. I'd hold her so tight, and
that's
I'd just be telling her it's all going to work out. It's all okay. Just have faith. Have faith. Have faith. Have
absolutely.
faith.
Out of all the colors in the rainbow, what color represents your personality and your vibrance?
It jumps between green and orange.
Mm-hmm.
Green and orange.
Green and orange. I love that.
Mm.
If you could time travel, go back to the past, stay here in the present, project to the future, where would you land?
If I could stay here and go back to the past or project to the future, which way would I choose to go? Is that what you're asking
Yeah,
me?
out of the three, if you go to the past, stay here in the present, or project to the future, where would you land?
I'd go to the future. My past is too important. I wouldn't be who I am without it.
Absolutely. A lot of
Mm.
people are, they want to go back. I don't want to go back. I've already been there, done that. I want to see what's happening. I'm ready to move forward.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of times, brains, what we have to do is we can't go forward until we realize where we are in the present.
Mm.
Sometimes we have to just plant roots here and cultivate our soul by working the soil of our hearts, working with great people like Deidre, um, reading great books, reading her anthology, living in our truth, being sharp as a knife, but blooming and living forever like a beautiful orchid. All of these things are important and they dictate who we are. Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you and how to get more information about my beautiful self.
I have a website. It's called www.mybeautifulself.com.au. I am on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. You can search for me by my name, Deidre Schill, or My Beautiful Self. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn. So I'm on all the socials. You will find me there. And I hang out on Facebook more than the other platforms. I've got a great group. It's called the Women's Circle, where I turn up and do lives in there every day. And we talk about your mindset and your values and boundaries and all of those really great things for you to, and it's all free. I share a lot of content in there to, because I just love sharing this. As I'm learning stuff, I love sharing it. I love sharing it out and having conversations around it. And I do that in my group called the Women's Circle on Facebook.
Sharing is caring. And you made that very clear. You don't have to suppress your feelings contingent and based upon what somebody else thinks that you should do. Okay? They should be doing what they think you should be doing. That's truth telling. That's being aware. That's being conscious. That's pulling back the layers. That's doing the deep dive. That's looking in that mirror for 15 minutes and just seeing who you really see. Me. On the edge. We love you deeply and completely. We want you to go in, love, like, share, and subscribe. Love, like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. If you think this is hokey, be respectful, but tell us what you think. Seriously, go in and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think, what your feelings are. We can enhance that. Maybe you will awaken us to something that we didn't realize. So again, thank you so much, Deidre. I appreciate you. I value you, and you are a beautiful soul and you have worked hard to make a beautiful self. Bye, brains.